more players being drafted, as many as any team in the country. I think that speaks volumes for USC. You continue to get the questions about player motivation and not being able to play in a bowl game. But the majority of our guys that come to SC come to get their degree from USC and come to play in the NFL. And so to have 9 more guys drafted, it now makes USC to have the most draft picks in the history of college football, I think speaks volumes, and we look to continue that. 22 players will return that have started for us before. And so some of those guys only 1 or 2 games, but we do have a lot of experience, guys that have been in our system. And so as we go into our second year, we look for those guys to be leaders. But there are a lot of areas where guys have played for us more than we had going into last offseason. As far as the appeal process, we're glad it's over. We're disappointed in the decision, but it is what it is. And we worry about what we can control. We're moving forward. And at least we know what it is now. And so it's not hanging over our head. We don't have to deal with what may happen. We've had a very specific plan in place since the decision first came down before the appeal of how to deal with this. I think we're maximizing it by what we've done and what we're going to continue to do to make the most out of it. Very proud of our players as you look over the last year and a half of how they've handled themselves in these trying times. It's a privilege to play at USC and to be a student athlete there. And so you saw an incident happen here lately. I think that we dealt with that with Mark Tyler in a very swift manner, and we took it very serious. When you play football at USC, you represent a lot of great players, but you represent a very powerful alumni. And so after watching what Mark did, none of us felt good about it. The decision that Pat Hayden and I made together, we're on the same page, and Mark has to get right. So until Mark gets right, he won't be back with our program. And so 1 game suspension is one thing, but to go on top of the 1 game suspension and to not let him train with our guys, will set him back. And so hopefully he'll get right. Last thing, to be in our second year, for our staff, to be around each other, learn about each other going into the second season, but most importantly our players. We had never played, we had never been on the field with these guys before a year ago, and so we hadn't been to battle with them. So we know a lot more about our roster, and going into the second season this fall, it's going to really help us as we figure out where to put all these new guys and where do we put everybody in place. As you look at our offense, 5 returning starters that come back that hopefully will continue to improve on last year. We improved in almost every offensive category last year. Starting with up front, Khalid Holmes will move to center. This is a very important move for us. We do a lot of stuff in our offensive system. Khalid's a very smart football player, and so he'll help us up front there because he's going to have 2 new guards next to him. Matt Khalil could be one of the elite left tackles in all of college football. Did some great things for us last year as he goes into his junior year. We expect a lot of great things from him. Red Ellison returns at tight end. Really, is a true Trojan by the way that he plays, by the way that he practices, by the way he handles himself. Look for him to move him around a lot as a tight end, but then also to continue to play on special teams. Robert Woods, after being named Pac-12 Freshman of the Year last year, comes back, trying to take him to the next level. So he can be one of those elite receivers that we've all seen here before at USC, get his catches up in that 80-90 catch range and have a great season for us. And then lastly, the quarterback. Really, we sat here a year ago and said the same thing. Our goal for Matt is to improve his decision-making. And as you look at what he did last year in the touchdown-interception ratio, improved a lot there. And now we need to go to the next level. So he can have one of those seasons like we've seen here before with Carson or Leinart or John David or Mark Sanchez, have one of those elite seasons coming up this season. Obviously, our other positions, there's a lot of inexperience there, especially with the offensive line, so a lot of those new guys are going to have to be plugged in. On defense, we have to improve everywhere on defense. This really, as we go back, this hurt us so many times last year. You look at if we just play 2-minute defense and in the games, we can be 11-2. And so there's a lot of areas to address, but specifically on defense, our back end, 2-minute defense and explosive plays. We give so many explosive plays last year. I think our defense line has potential to be a very strong group. We moved Devon Kennard from middle linebacker to defensive end. I think as you look at this conference, how it's spread out, it's not like it was when we were here before. And so it's more important to not have big linebackers, but to have fast defensive ends. So we put him back to defensive end, which is where he's played before his whole high school career. So with him there, with Nick Perry and Wes Horton, we think that's 3 really premier defensive ends there. Inside, Christian Tupu and DeJohn Harris return, as well as some young guys. Armand Armstead, we still don't know anything different on his health. Hopefully he'll be there to give us a great rotation inside. Look back to last year, one of the things we didn't have, we had no rotation on our defensive line. way too many guys were playing 60, 70 snaps instead of rotating and they're playing 40 snaps a game. Linebackers, moving to Devon means that Chris Gallipo will be the Mike. Outside of that, we don't really know very much. A lot of guys are going to get opportunities there. Shane Horton's really the only guy with much experience coming back. And then we have two redshirt freshmen in Deion Bailey and Hayes Pollard that had very good springs that we look for out of them, including 3 incoming true freshmen linebackers. The DBs, TJ McDonald, really hoping for an All-American season out of him. Really did some good things last year, had a great spring for us. Very tough player, just like his dad. Knocked a tooth out in spring practice, came right back, played with it. This kid's a special kid, so we look for him to have a great season. Nikel Roby, I think got overlooked a little bit last year. Here's a guy that started all 13 games as a true freshman, coming from Florida all the way to USC. I believe Tim knows these stats. I believe he's the first true freshman to start at corner since World War II, when Pat Hayden and J.K. McKay were playing for us. That was my first bad joke of the day. The other safety spots all up for grabs, as well as the corners. And with Nikel, we look for him to have a great season, as well as use him on returns. Special teams look to be improved there. I think this is where we improved the most from the year before we got here to last year was our special teams. John Baxter came in from Fresno State, where he'd been for 13 years. We blocked 9 kicks last year. Really did a good job. We're going to have to break in 2 new kickers, a new kicker and a new punter. So that'll be a big challenge for us there. And in closing, really just to get back to the field. So much stuff in this offseason going on with USC and around us that I really think is behind us. And so we can get back to the field, hopefully have no distractions, and just get back on the field and coach and our players play, which is why we came here. And I think that it's a very competitive schedule. All BCS teams. One of the reasons these guys come to SC is to play the best. Obviously the conference is going to be so strong, continuing the Notre Dame rivalry. It's going to be a very competitive year for us. And then to have the NFL back, something that's real special to all of us, obviously would be missed. So it's great to have that back. So with that, I've eaten up all the time, so there's no hard questions you can ask me right now. So we have 1 minute left, and Matt's going to announce he's coming back for his senior year.